it's unclear to me why they went to such drastic measures to do this. The only thing I can think is that it's political showmanship, and it's all for the purpose of trying to discredit him when there's not actually any crime that has been committed. You know, they can say that they found classified documents. It's convenient for them that they're shrouding this in a national security blanket because they don't want to disclose what they're doing, because what they're doing is wrong. And so they want to hide it behind the premise that this is, oh, it's a matter of national security and classified documents, so we can't disclose to you what we're doing or why we're doing it, but just trust us, we're not lying to you. Well, no, the American people aren't going to stand for that anymore.
Christina, thank you so much for joining us. So I wanted to set the stage properly for the audience, a lot of whom are in the dark about what's actually happening and what's happened thus far. Can you sort of explain to them, when did the FBI agents actually arrive at Mar-a-Lago? What time did this raid begin yesterday?
Sure. So they rolled in, I'm guessing around 9 o'clock. I was not there when they arrived. I got a call around 10 o'clock, maybe a little bit before that, saying I needed to get down to Mar-a-Lago because the FBI was there. And I got there maybe around 10:30, and the FBI was already there, and they were already in the process of conducting the search. So I don't know the exact time that they got there, but I'm guessing it was probably an hour to an hour and a half before I made it there. And then they concluded, I want to say maybe 6:30, 7 o'clock. So it was about 10 hours, I'm guessing, of searching that they did yesterday.
And so how many agents actually came on this raid? Approximately how many?
I don't know the exact number, but I would guess, I've guessed about 24, maybe. I think I've heard someone say that there were 30, and that was probably about right.
So early in the morning, Mar-a-Lago, which of course has Secret Service protection, they just have these black vans come, FBI agents knocking, and do they show a warrant or an affidavit to the people there?
Well, I assume they showed something to the Secret Service to actually get onto the premises. When I first got there, I was the first attorney to arrive on behalf of President Trump, and I asked to see the warrant, and initially they wouldn't show it to me, and I said, what do you mean you're not going to show me the warrant? So after some discussion, they agreed to show it to me so I could see it, and then, you know, they gave me the copy once everything had concluded. But yeah, I mean, there's not really a whole lot you can do in that situation. They're there, they have a warrant, they're doing what they want, and you kind of just watch. But it was, I've said before, similar to like a movie scene where you see, you know, the FBI come in and they've got all their boxes and their gear and they're investigating things. They wouldn't allow me to actually go with them where they were doing the search. So I didn't actually get to oversee the search. They wouldn't let anybody see what they were doing. So I can't confirm, you know, what process they did or any of that, but I know approximately where they went.
Could you share with our audience what was written on the affidavit, if you can, whether there was any probable cause, what specifically were they looking for, and maybe which judge signed the warrant?
Sure. So they're looking for presidential records, what they deem to be presidential records, and anything that could potentially be classified is what they were searching for. And you know, we had been very cooperative with them before, and it's unclear to me why they went to such drastic measures to do this, but they did. And as far as the probable cause goes, they wouldn't give that to us, and they've requested that that be sealed with the court. So we don't know what the probable cause is. An affidavit will accompany the request for the warrant, and we haven't been able to see that. I don't know if we'll ever get a copy of it, but yeah, so we don't know what the probable cause is. I don't think there is good cause to do such a drastic thing, but they did. And it was a local magistrate judge here in Florida that signed the warrant. I think it's Reinhardt is his last name.
Really? So it was Bruce Reinhardt. A lot of people were speculating that it was him.
Yeah, it was Bruce Reinhardt, yeah.
So once the raid was being conducted, you said that you weren't allowed to follow them, but after they left, what was their general conduct like? Did they manhandle anyone? Were they rough with anyone, or was it generally peaceful?
No, it was peaceful. I mean, and they didn't toss the place. You know, you see them like flipping over couches and tearing up cushions. They didn't do any of that. They kept the place neat, and you know, one of them actually had like a trash bag with them and was picking up any potential trash. So they left it orderly, which I guess under the circumstances is appropriate. But the fact that to me, the egregious behavior is the fact that they had the audacity to do it at all.
what did they wind up taking away with them?
So I haven't seen exactly, what the documents are. They did give an inventory, which had, they took a handful of boxes of documents, but it's unclear at this point. I don't think that there was anything incriminating. Like, I don't think there was anything of substance. So I'm sure that they will say otherwise, but we'll have to wait and see what they come up with. But it was all paper. I hear the conspiracy theories and the rumors that there were other artifacts or something taken. It was all paper.
So one question I had was, the documents that they took, were these documents were copies of those documents already in the possession of the FBI or some other government agencies, or were these documents that were not in their possession already?
I don't know. I don't know if they had them before. We had given them access to the room before. They had said, we'd like to search. We think you have classified information, and we think it's in this storage facility. And so President Trump invited the FBI to Mar-a-Lago and was very generous and opened his home to them and said, what would you like to see? Take a look and, show them whatever you want. And so I was there with another attorney, the lead attorney on this case, and we'd let the FBI do whatever they wanted and showed them the room and let them look around and inspect. So like the extent to the documents, whether they had them or not, I don't know. And I don't know exactly which ones they took. They haven't disclosed that yet. So to me, it doesn't matter. They had access to it anyway. Nothing had been hidden and nothing had been kept secret from them, which makes this all the more ridiculous.
So that earlier anecdote that you're saying, when they came and you showed them the rooms, when was that?
That was probably in June.
In June? And so what you're saying is, back in June, you allowed them in, you showed them everything. And I believe, was that around the time when the 15 boxes were taken from Mar-a-Lago by the National Archives?
I don't know about that. When I was with them in June, nothing was taken. So
I see. Okay.
They didn't leave with anything.
Okay, so you don't really have an idea of why you previously let them in, you showed them around, you said, you can take a look at anything you want, why they would have to do a raid later, because according to you, you were open with them earlier. Is that correct?
Yeah, we were open with them. And President Trump himself, I actually thought he was way kinder than I would have been. He was very kind. And he actually stopped by when they were, doing their search or wanted to talk to us, and was very hospitable and nice and said, I want to make sure you're welcome here. I have nothing to hide. What would you like to see? So he was amazing. He was great. And then they turn around and do this nonsense. The only thing I can think is that it's political showmanship, and it's all for the purpose of trying to discredit him when there's not actually any crime that has been committed. So it's political showmanship.
So let me ask you this, in terms of the legal ramifications moving forward, Mark Elias, who's a former Clinton campaign lawyer back in 2016, he posted this on Twitter. He said that according to a federal statute, whoever having the custody of any such presidential record, proceeding, map, book, document, paper, or other such thing, willfully or unlawfully conceals, removes, mutilates, obliterates, falsifies, or destroys the same, meaning the documents, faces a number of punishments, but including in that is that they shall be disqualified from holding any office under the United States. Now, it's a bit dubious whether this federal statute would actually override the U.S. Constitution, because the U.S. Constitution actually sets forth who can and who cannot become the U.S. president. But are you or the Trump legal team considering this? Are you worried about this possibility?
I'm not worried about any of it. Donald Trump didn't commit a crime. Now, whether Mark Elias and his buddies at the Department of Justice want to try to indict President Trump, they can try. They're not going to be able to show that Donald Trump actually knew what was down there, or that he had anything to do with the boxes. I mean, they would have to lay the foundation that Donald Trump actually packed up his own office, and Donald Trump was actually the custodian of these records, and that he actually moved them, and he knew, like, they have no information to indicate that he actually knew these boxes were in the storage unit. So there's no reason to believe that Donald Trump committed any crime, or that any crime was committed by anybody. Is that going to stop the Department of Justice? Probably not. The law has never, why would you let the law get in the way of good facts that you can make up? So they might try to indict or, try to make something up. I'm not worried about it. I don't think it would get very far, even if they managed to convince the jury, to convict or something. I just don't think it will hold up. It's not going to hold up because they don't have the facts to support any criminal activity on the part of Donald Trump.
So I just wanted you to highlight that a little bit for the audience, maybe explain it to them a bit deeper. In order for President Trump to be found guilty of anything, there's a very high standard that needs to be met. Can you explain that high standard?
Yeah, so for the Code Section 18 U.S.C. 2071 that Mark Elias quoted in his tweet, It says that you have to willfully or knowingly remove or destroy, the whole list of items. Willfully and knowingly means you have to do it intentionally, which means any person who does that. That would, by default, mean that if they want to prosecute Donald Trump for doing that, they would have to prove that Donald Trump personally knew that information was being removed from the White House, that he personally either dictated it or had it removed, or that he himself did it. He knew it was there and that he had some malicious intent with it, which there's nothing to indicate that that's true. And to be clear, I don't actually think that there's anything incriminating. They can say that they found classified documents. We let them in there before, and other attorneys on the team have gone through that, combed through it to make sure there wasn't something that people weren't aware of. And I'm not convinced that there's actually anything damning in there, but we'll see. We'll have to see what they come up with. But I also think it's convenient for them that they're shrouding this in a national security blanket, because they don't want to disclose what they're doing, because what they're doing is wrong. And so they want to hide it behind the premise that this is, it's a matter of national security and classified documents, so we can't disclose to you what we're doing or why we're doing it, but just trust us. We're not lying to you. Well, no, the American people aren't going to stand for that anymore. We don't believe the FBI. They burned their bridge with Russia, with the Ukraine hoax, with unmasking the incoming national security advisor, with surveilling President Trump's campaign. The FBI has lied to the American people so many different ways. We don't believe them anymore. So I don't think they have enough to prove their case. It doesn't mean they're not going to try and go forward. And who knows, maybe it's something that would need to be appealed. I just don't see it making a bit of difference. I think President Trump is going to most likely run for re-election. I can't wait until he does, and he will be the next president of the United States.
So moving forward in this particular case, is the government required legally to give you the affidavit, which includes the probable cause, or did you, like you mentioned earlier, it's sealed and they don't have to give it to you? What would be the next step in that department?
So we would have to request it from the court. They asked the magistrate who agreed to seal it, whether he wants to unseal it or unseal it for limited purposes. And that all of that needs to play out in the next few days, weeks, maybe months. Who knows how long this will take. But it's just something you would have to request from the court.
And you guys are going to be doing that?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay. And so besides that, last question, are there any other legal actions that you or President Trump's legal team is going to take? Or are you sort of just sitting around now and essentially at the mercy of the U.S. government, pending investigation results?
So the criminal team that would have to respond to this, I'm sure that they're absolutely going to be taking steps. Nobody's sitting around just waiting to see what the Department of Justice does, but what they do and when they do it, I don't know if they've made that decision yet, but they're doing everything they can to protect Donald Trump and to protect the United States of America.
All right, Christina, thank you so much for giving us an update, and best of luck. I hope to have you on in the next couple of days for another update.
You got it. Thank you so much.
Take care.